Hi, welcome to this training video on 3dsMax. This is Fred Moreau, and for this first tutorial I want to touch on a feature that I feel is way underrated. I'm talking about batch rendering. Before I get into the subject, I'm going to cover a bit of rendering vocabulary, as when I talk about batch rendering, I get a lot of people asking what that is all about, and I feel there's some confusion between the different rendering methods available in 3dsMax. The first method that pretty much everyone uses all the time is what I call manually triggered rendering. It is when you run 3dsMax, open your scene file, set everything up in the render dialog, and press the render button. Command line rendering is when instead of having 3dsMax running, you open a command line window. You can do so by going into the start menu, choosing run and typing cmd, and then use the command line executable 3dsmax cmd.exe located in 3dsMax root folder, with a series of options to render your scene. This offers the benefits of saving the memory that 3dsMax would take if its UI was loaded. Network rendering is when you submit a rendering job to a network backburner manager so that it uses the available backburner server stations to render the scene. This is especially useful when you render animated sequences or very large images. Split rendering is an option of network rendering for rendering a large image across multiple stations. It will split the rendering area into as many sub-areas as you have stations to do the job. Once finished, the final image will be regathered and merged. Distributed rendering is an option of most modern renderers, such as Monterey. It allows the rendering of a single image using several CPUs across a network, without splitting or merging the render, and it doesn't involve backburner. It also benefits from many optimizations and will be the fastest way of rendering a large image with multiple stations. 3dsMax comes with 8 satellite licenses of Monterey, which means that you can use up to 8 CPUs on top of the workstation that fires the render. Now, batch rendering is what we're going to be touching in this video. Batch rendering allows you to automate the process of rendering multiple cameras in different scene states using multiple render presets and with override controls over the output size and sequence. Notice that it is compatible with all the previous rendering options. Now, let's pretend I'm a freelance 3D artist who's just got a contract with a USB key designer who's brought me a CAD models of 2 slightly different designs. He asks me to turn them into some nice looking renders, which shouldn't be too much trouble. As I go through the work, the guy comes back and asks if it'd be possible to make renders of different colors. So, as I want to keep this client, I may say, yeah, sure, not a problem. I know that a couple of material duplicates isn't going to take me long anyway. Then, later, the guy asks, can you make 3 different camera angles? Again, I know that setting up another 2 cameras isn't going to take me long either. And as it feels so easy to get things done in 3D, the guy comes again and goes, can I make the renders on different backgrounds? Then I realized that, in all, it makes 36 renders to trigger, all with different materials, backgrounds, cameras, models, and layouts. By then, I'm almost finished, so I can go and change the background and do the renders manually. Now, what if the guy comes back and says, hey, you know what? I had to make a couple of changes on the models. Can you update them? Then I know that I'm going to have to spend a day switching layers, materials, backgrounds, and triggering the renders, not to mention the pain of setting up the output paths for all of these renders. Of course, I could charge the client for having me doing a fucking boring job, but I'd still be doing it. Wouldn't it be a lot better to just update the models and re-render everything automatically as I do something a lot more interesting? That is the purpose of batch rendering. Now let's have a look at how to get it done. In 3dsMax, that is our scene. We have the 3 different cameras. We also have scene states for the 2 different backgrounds, for the 2 different designs, for 2 different positions, and 3 different material setups. You can see that, for example, I've got the design 2, which I can restore, and what it does is that it switches layer visibility so that I get to see the design 2 model instead. And then I can restore the original here. I can also play with the stand flat, stand up positions here. So I can restore this. And what it does is that it restores some light transforms to which I've linked my geometry. So that allows me to store the object properties. As actually, when you save a scene state, there's no such thing as object transforms. I find this as a kind of a hack to be able to save the object positions and rotations and so on, is to link them to light. If you don't need to use the light transforms in your scene states, then you can just use the light transform channel to store object positions. All you got to do is take those lights and turn them off so that they don't light up your scene, obviously. And from there, we also have 3 different material setups here, such as current, like so. So it replaces the material assignments. I've got the blue version here, and the green version here, and the tangerine version there. I've also got 2 different backgrounds here, like so, so I can load them up pretty easily. Now what I want to do is go into the render menu and get into batch render. The batch render allows me to make all these combinations of renders so that I never have to reapply those scene states and change the camera and change the settings in the render dialog again. Everything is going to be saved in here, and all I'm going to have to do in the future, if I have anything to change in the scene, I can just do my changes and then re-render everything out automatically. There, what I'm going to do is add a new batch render. I'm going to call it design 1 underscore camera 2, for example, and then I'm going to call this tangerine for the tangerine material. I'm going to go and copy this and paste it to the file name like that. It's a good thing to use the same name as the file name so that it's easy for you to track. Then I'm gonna go and pick up the camera and pick up the tangerine scene state, and I can also pick a render preset here. I'm gonna call the distortion on, which is a render preset that I have saved. As in this scene, I have some distortion lens shader that I want to turn on and off according to the camera that I'm rendering. All I've got to do now is duplicate these, and I can call this one current, and I'm gonna go again, copy and paste, and change the scene state to current, and then do the same thing with this one here. I'm gonna call this lime, copy and paste, and change the scene state, and that's it. I've got my 3 different renders set up. I can hit the render button, and those 3 renders are going to be rendered all at once. And I can also check net render. That allows me to send these 3 renders to the backburner manager, and I can also export this to a batch file, for example here. And that creates a bat file that uses the command line version of 3dsMax, which is called 3dsMax CMD. It uses it with all the options that it takes to render this from the command line rendering. If you want to make sure that this works, you've got to get into your advanced environment variables, and you've got to make sure that 3dsMax path is actually set up in your path variable. As a conclusion, it's easy to see the time you can save by using batch rendering, but you can also guess that setting it up can take quite a bit of time if you have many cameras, scene states, and render presets. If you want to see how this can all be done in a few clicks, check out the Batch Render Wizard, a free scripted utility that is available along with the tutorial scene files at adversoftware.com. Till next time, thanks for watching.